you 3000% Voltron love with mail that make a girl. Today's topic is a request by Mallory. Thanks! Requests are always welcome. If there is a VLD topic you'd like me to give my opinion on, do let me know. And so, I'd like to talk about how reliant VLD's story is on Shiro and Keith's relationship. But first, allow me to propose a scenario. Imagine a VLD where Pidge never located Sam or Matt, and her search for them continued in vain. Consider a VLD where the most Hunk and Lance would have done was follow garrison regulation and never made something of themselves. The three of them would have been too wrapped up in their own lives and never would have became paladins. Imagine a VLD where Allura and Karan were never woken up, so the Castle of Lions was destroyed by Sindak. The Blue Lion would have been found by the Golra. The Earth would have been overtaken, and the Yellow Lion would have been stolen from its planet. Zarkon would have won. Doesn't sound like much of a story, does it? You might ask, Mel, where are you going with this? Well, you may have noticed Shiro and Keith were intentionally left out. That's because without Shiro and Keith, their entwined paths, the strength of their relationship, there would be no Voltron. Think about it. Okay, if VLD contained Shiro without Keith, the furthest we may have gotten was no one able to find Red, so Sindak could have overtaken them because there was no giant robot. And if by chance somehow the team managed to find someone to pilot Red, Shiro would have lost control of Black, and that would have enabled Zarkon to nab it because there would be no Keith there to tell him to believe in himself or to knock the Black Lion out of the way. If VLD had Keith in the narrative minus Shiro, his story could have ended as him forever remaining an unloved delinquent who continuously suffered through life. Remember, he had no interest in being recruited by the garrison when Shiro first showed up. This tells me recruiters visited his school often, or often enough for him to ignore them, and because in his mind, he was a lost cause. Someone unwanted who only existed for getting in trouble, really. In his mind, no one should waste their time on him, so he gave up on himself. He wouldn't have joined the garrison if not for Shiro not just believing in him, but giving him a second chance too, being there for him. Shiro became his entire world. Shiro became his everything. Regardless of how you may see Shiro and Keith, their bond and existence are the very backbone of VLD. Having one in the story without the other will not do. This is how powerful these characters are, and not only how important their dynamics are throughout the story, but to themselves. That's only one of the reasons Season 8 was so abysmal. It removed their bond. It was not a good idea to have them go from, I believe in you, you are my entire universe, for 7 seasons, only to have them be reduced to that one coworker you give an empty hi to before blocking out their existence and going on about your day, you know? Actually, that's how I felt all of Season 8 treated multiple characters, but that would be another topic. It was because of Shiro believing in Keith, supporting him, and proving he was important that encouraged Keith into the leader position. Keith tried to rebel against it, but it wasn't until Kudon went rogue and Keith wanted to help him that Keith decided he would pilot Black and actually be Team Voltron's leader. The only reason he ever tried to be a leader at all was because Shiro entrusted the role with him. When Shiro disappeared, Keith reluctantly stepped up to the plate. When Kudon showed up, Keith distanced himself to give Black time to reaccept who Keith believed was the best leader for the team. He did it all for Shiro. And when you think about Shiro's spirit was in Black, while Keith was piloting from Season 3 through Season 7, that puts things in an even wider perspective. Shiro and Keith were together. Keith wouldn't have been able to reach the team and fight Lotor without Shiro. And without Keith being the one to locate and communicate with Shiro and Black, Allura would have never transferred his soul into the clone body, which means Shiro never would have become captain/admiral of the Atlas, or able to infiltrate Sindak's ship, or have given Voltron the time it needed to best the Acolyte. Remember that? Keith wouldn't have slayed Sindak for Shiro's safety, or Voltron never would have merged with the Atlas. Heels! As much as I despise looking through Season 8 for any reason, due to it being such a disrespectful spit in the face, this is something that contributes more to the strength of Shiro and Keith's bond. A bond too strong for Season 8's attempts to stomp it out. They tried, it failed. We know where the real love is. Another thing to take notice of is Blazing Sword can only be formed when Shiro and Keith are in Voltron together at the same time. So now you see, without Shiro and Keith or their relationship, you and I would have never had VLD. You know, that's like having a show like Sailor Moon without Sailor Moon! Like, what? Or Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z without Goku. What? Their shows are stories that revolve around them. The main characters. The story cannot progress properly without them. So of course, removing Shiro and Keith's dynamic would cause the rest of the story to plummet, because the story that required these characters to be properly told just blew up its own foundation. The sooner those responsible can accept this mistake, the sooner they can do something to fix it. Key words being to fix it. I know how overwhelming it can feel when you mess up, and mess up in a grand fashion, but that is no reason or excuse to just run away and pretend it never happened. It's been about 5 months since the fiasco of Season 8 and the erasure of Shiro and Keith's relationship. That's, you know, that thing VLD isn't quite VLD without. So instead of disappearing and avoiding that you made a mistake, it would be better to actually look through all of the feedback, take it to heart, and do something about it, instead of trying to push it off, pretending like it doesn't exist. If you keep getting a bill in the mail and you ignore it, it's gonna keep happening, regardless if you want to see it or not. That's just facts. So ignoring the fan base is exactly the same as ignoring a bill you know you're going to see again. And that's it with over 3,000% Voltron love.